Hello guys, my name is Daniel. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to this Saturday evening, afternoon here. I have financial news and views here. He has a really hot little channel here that does some great price prediction type content. He's up to 433 subscribers. Let me put his channel up there for you guys so you guys can take a look. Let's see. Okay, financial news and views, 433 subscribers. He's done some really good videos here, really great ones. ECOMI price analysis, 3,000 views there. That's pretty crazy. ECOMI, OMI 10x price, 2.5K views. Really, really good channel there. So definitely check him out. I left his information down in the description below if you want to take a look at that. But hello, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm a fan of your channel as well.
Thank you. Yeah, awesome. And just real quick, we've had some technical difficulties, so I just want to ask the audience, do you guys hear our audio pretty well? Do you guys have any issues? Please let us know. I think you guys can hear us. It's Cavell Anderson. Shout out to Cavell Anderson. What's going on, man? Rebel Duck. Another great YouTuber here, Rebel Duck. Check out his channel. Check out Cavell's channel there. Okay, so our audio is good. So I guess we can begin here. So the first question I have for you is, how did you find out about ECOMI and OMI in general?
I was watching, I think it was Millennial Money, and Andre Jick was on there, and he had mentioned that one of his new big investments was OMI, and I wasn't really looking to get into a small crypto play at that time, so I just kept it in the back of my mind. I was building up like my Ethereum position at the time, and then a few weeks later, I started looking at the smaller coins. I remember what he had said, and what caught me was that it's an NFT play, and the sector is going to be huge and growing, and they have the IP and the licenses. So that's really what first drew me into OMI.
Awesome. Yeah, actually, Andre Jick really kind of played a pivotal life role in kind of causing me to get interested in OMI as well. I watched some of his videos. He did a big OMI video, had like 300,000 plus views, and then started doing some research on that and got into it 3 weeks later. So I owe it a lot to Andre Jick there.
Yeah, the same. And the more I started doing research, the more conviction that I had, in the project. So, but that was the jump off point was Andre Jick.
Yeah, same here, same here. He's got a great channel too, by the way. He's got awesome stuff.
Yeah.
So you heard about ECOMI, OMI, things like that. What made you, I guess, jump into it? Like, well, take us through kind of your investment.
So part of my investment strategy is to find new sectors that are going to grow in the next decade. So, for instance, I invest in Tesla for the EVs. I invest in DraftKings for online gambling. And so when I started reading about NFTs and how they were going to disrupt a number of different sectors, I started looking into like who might be the leaders in that sector. And OMI jumped out at me right off the bat. Alfred Kahn being involved was big for me because I also like to back people who are successful, and for someone like him who has had a long history of success, brought Pokemon to America, had success back in the 80s when I was a kid with Cabbage Patch Kids. I didn't even know who he was, but I wanted a Cabbage Patch Kid when I was like 7 or 8 years old. Now he must be like 70 or something years old. For a new project like this to excite him and having the options available to him, I'm sure he has like a number of projects that he could throw himself behind, also gave me conviction. I like to follow smart people who have been successful and try to build with them.
Gotcha.
On their coattails.
Yeah. I didn't even know Alfred Kahn was involved. Didn't actually know who he was, but a lot of the YouTubers, Cavell, for example, talked a lot about him. And so of course you do some research and you realize he was hugely pivotal in introducing Pokemon and a bunch of other great brands in the US. So definitely a huge player. So yeah, it definitely made me more confident.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got into OMI. you heard about ECOMI. What made you decide to pivot and actually start a YouTube channel?
So YouTube is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I enjoy filmmaking and editing, and I dabbled in that in the last few years. I don't really have the time to really pursue that with like my family responsibilities and work. So I knew I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I didn't know exactly in what niche. But then just getting super heavy into investing over the last 2 years and doing the research and the work anyway, I felt like it was a natural extension for me to take that research and be able to share it with people and hopefully create value for people, create community, and grow a channel.
Yeah, I've said this before. I started this YouTube channel, I think it was like late April, like the 28th or something. And I mean, within a few 4 or 5 months or something like that, I got to like 3,000 plus subs. And I thought that was going to take like 2 or 3 years, honestly. But I've been really blessed. And since then, I always tell people, if you're interested in starting a channel, especially if it's like ECOMI related, like definitely go for it. Like as long as you're consistent, the algorithm is going to reward you. So it's
Yeah,
kudos to
100%.
you.
You'll regret not doing it more than you will doing it and
Yeah.
failing. And don't be
Yeah.
discouraged because it's hard at first. You plan a video and you put some hours into it, then you make the video and you edit the video and you put it out and like no one watches it, right? And so it can be discouraging. At first, that was my experience. Like, no one's watching this. I'm wasting my time. But my kids actually are the ones who are like, you gotta relax, stick with it, don't give up. And then then it quickly just took off, and now every day I'm adding subs, and it's been going well. And now here I am with you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's taught me so much. Like it teaches you about marketing, how to communicate, how to plan things. I mean, there's so much that I learned from just starting this channel in like 3 or 4 short months. And man, I'm glad I jumped into it because I used to make some videos in college, like nothing too crazy, just little stupid, funny videos. And I never devoted myself to YouTube, but I wish I had started earlier. That's my only regret there. So
Yeah, but you started now, and you've got a long road ahead of you, so it's all
yeah,
good. A lot
sure.
of people, I found myself saying like, if I knew now what I knew if I knew now what back in my 20s, if I knew what I know now back in my 20s, I would have been like so successful. But then like that now, you know what I mean? Like we live in a world where we can apply. We have access to so much technology where we can just start our own businesses or channels, and we have all access to all these things. Be it like YouTube or Etsy if you're into crafts and selling your own stuff. So it's it's a great time.
Yeah. I was in college. I first was a freshman in college in 2003. So I'm kind of dating myself here. But, I feel like back in those days, it was really hard to make money. You just had to basically get a job or you had to get lucky and start a business that was successful. But nowadays, like so much you can do, right? You can start your own, you can Uber, right? You can deliver food. Those are really easy options. I mean, you can start a YouTube channel. You can have a craft store. I mean, there's just so many options now that didn't exist a decade ago. So,
and even like eBay, I started selling stuff on eBay like a year ago, and I would like hunt around the house. I'd like sell my old like cologne I never opened, and I sold it for like $20. And I sold like my son like this jacket he never wore. I sold that for $20. And I started selling things on eBay. I sold like an old VR. My PS4 VR, which I used for like a month, sold that for like $500. And before I knew it, I was up like a few $1,000s off of things that were collecting dust in my house. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah.
That's my mindset now, is just how can I just pull in some extra money here and there just to help myself.
Gotcha. Yeah. So let's get into some OMI related questions. So what is your vision of ECOMI in the future?
So I think that ECOMI will obviously grow into a collectibles, possibly a collectibles giant. I love it's got like different like tentacles and arms to it, right? You've got like traditional collectibles, you've got like the comic books, and then I think the gamification aspect of it is going to be huge. I see it as a community-driven gaming platform, collectibles. All these different things, and then some things that we may not have thought of yet, So I do see it as a great project in the space.
I'm sure you keep up with like like you obviously have an ECOMI related channel, so you must keep up on some of the AMAs. What do you think about the gamification piece? Because on one hand, you have people like Cavell, for example. He does great VVverse content. I love it. Who believes things like, you can eventually start your own business. You can take these hoverboards and go around with them, or you can build your own escape room, things like that. To what we've heard on the AMAs that maybe we're not there just yet. Trevor said some things. What do you think about the different views, our expectations versus what ECOMI is saying?
I think that we're not there yet. I think it's going to start slow. It'll probably start with just an open world platform with some small, simple mini games. But I think that in time it'll grow. When Apple released their first phone, it wasn't this. So I think that Cavell is right in that there are opportunities to build in the space, and those things could be possibilities. But again, it's speculative.
Yeah.
But definitely it's fun to think about the possibilities, because if you had, think back 10 years ago, if you had mentioned non-fungible tokens, metaverses, and all these crazy things, people wouldn't have believed it. So I can definitely see an extension of what we have here.
What do you think we're going to get this year? Because they've talked about how VVverse is going to be available this year. And, I, at first, when I first saw that ad, I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. We're going to have a virtual world to explore this year. But now I'm starting to think that maybe it won't be like that. Maybe it'll be a mini game where it's like log into the app 10 times and you get like, I don't know, some exclusive access to something. I don't know, something that's not as what we imagine. What do you think we're going to get this year?
I think that there is a good possibility that people will be disappointed, because when the expectations are so high, like it, you know what I mean? It's not going to be a full-fledged VVverse. I know that. I think that it should be open. I do expect some open world place for people to be social with each other. I don't know if they'll be able to use all their NFTs right away, or how that's going to work. But I do expect some sort of like a mini game in there. Maybe, ride your DeLorean from point A to point B. But, my expectations, I curb my enthusiasm and my expectations so that I'm not disappointed. But, long term, I don't really have much doubt that they'll be able to build on it.
I agree 100% there. So I know that people love these OMI price prediction videos. And I know I've seen some of your videos. I know what your price prediction is, but tell us what your OMI price prediction is with whatever time span you have and how you kind of came to that conclusion.
So I think short term, by the end of the year, if, barring like some macroeconomic issues, or barring like, if crypto stays hot and we're in a bull run, I think that we could go as high as 5 cents. I think that because I think that we're currently undervalued. I did some videos on the revenue that they're generating. Something like, if you project their revenue out over 12 months, something like $100 million. So to think that we're only trading at 6 times that projected revenue, when that projected revenue is likely to be way higher once like VVverse comes out. And I know that's kind of like a stock way of looking at things, but crypto often is detached from fundamentals, right? So I feel like this is, it's undervalued at its current price. I can see it running up to about 5 cents with all the catalysts that are coming, starting with Immutable and all the things that they're doing in the app. But I do expect if it runs to 5 cents for it to collapse. Like I expect, like that's like a big psychological number. I feel like if it hits 5 cents, you could see a good 70% retracement and, bounce back to like hold like that 1 cent support line, or maybe 2 cents. That's really where I think it could end up in the short term. Long term, I made a video saying that I think it could go to $1. But it's hard to say, with definitiveness what a how long term. I feel like investing, especially with like a baby project, it's kind of like driving down a dark road with only your headlights on. You can only kind of see like what's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Right. So with my headlights, I can kind of see, I can see us getting to 5 cents maybe by the end of the year. Long term, I do think it has the potential to hit $1. It would require a lot of burning of tokens. But, one of the things I love about the project is that it's a moonshot, right? But it's a moonshot, and people invest in things like whatever Shiba and SafeMoon with the hopes of getting rich, right? And they invest a small amount of money and they get millions amount of coins, right? Thinking that it could blow up. Why I love Omi is because it's kind of got that moonshot capability, but built on strong fundamentals. So you can afford, a million tokens relatively cheap in investment purposes, like $3,000 will get you like
Right.
a million, but it's not SafeMoon, right? It's not Shiba. It's a legit project in a growing, burgeoning sector that's going to disrupt a number of different sectors in the next decade with a strong team behind it. So that's what makes me bullish.
Yeah, that's one thing I really liked about your videos. I could tell you're definitely like a stock guy, or you came from a some stock background, because you think in terms of stocks. And on one hand, I made a video very similar to that where I talked about cash flow and things like that, compared it like a stock. And people would say, "Oh, you can't compare it like a stock," and you can't, because there's no ownership rights tied to these tokens, right? They could switch it up at a moment's notice. But I feel like that should be our foundation to say what is overvalued, what is undervalued, and then we can kind of take it from there. So I really liked your analysis there. I think it's really good. Yeah.
And people also say that they're unrelated, stocks and crypto unrelated, but at the same time, people have forever said that Bitcoin should hit whatever $10 trillion because gold is $10 trillion, and that's a totally different asset class. And I've seen people look at Ethereum and say this is like a tech giant, right? Everything's built upon it. It's like Google, right? What's Google's market cap? A couple $1 trillion. People expect Ethereum to hit a couple $1 trillion. So, yes, they are. You can't analyze them along the same lines, but you can kind of look for some guidance, I think. And, there is a little overlap in correlation.
I agree. I totally agree with that. Yeah. Let's see here. So what do you think of ECOMI's roadmap for 2022? You've touched on a few things. We know Immutables coming. We know Master Collector probably announced this year.
Yeah.
Exchanges. What do you think of the roadmap?
I'm hoping we get the NFL out. I think that would be a big thing, to incorporate sports. It'll give it like another arm. Otherwise, we all know, like I made a video on all the catalysts that are coming. Immutable, the master collectors, staking, but different ways to burn tokens. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Because the burn rate right now is not going to power us to the levels we want to get to.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. If you just look at how we're burning things now and you add like a couple of drops every week, we're never going to burn a substantial amount of tokens. No. But when you add a lot of mechanisms like the VVverse and, who knows what they could do. I've made an argument that they could do something like, hey, you give us $300 worth of Omi and we'll double your floor space of your showrooms. There's a lot of people who would want to do that. 300 is not that much money for something like that. And there's just so many possibilities. 5-second early access on a drop, that can be a huge money move for you. The possibilities are just endless. Yeah. So
that's why I looked at the current burn rate, and I think I approximated that it would take like 15 years to burn like the right amount of tokens or whatever, or a decent amount to push it. But that doesn't bother me knowing that those things are coming. There's so much that we don't know. Like when I first invested in the project, I didn't even know about the VVverse. I didn't know about the whole layer of gamification, right? So that it's going to be big. I think the gamification's going to be big.
Yeah.
How do you think they're going to fare in the gaming aspect?
Honestly, I think they're a little bit behind. A lot of us ECOMI YouTubers are really looking at Illuvium, and we're not jumping ship. I don't plan on being like an Illuvium channel or anything like that. But clearly, they're really, really ahead. Axie Infinity is already making a lot of people money. I mean, there's some people that are making a couple $1,000s every few days off of breeding. So I think Vivi is a little bit behind in that front, but I don't think their goal was to be a heavy game, play to earn game when they first developed this. But I think they will eventually move in that direction but I think they're a little bit behind in that regard. But they're way ahead in terms of collectibles and in terms of having like a metaverse with licensed collectibles as potentially avatars. That they're way ahead of the game there. So,
Yeah,
those are
totally
just my
agree.
thoughts there.
No, I agree as well. Yeah, that's what I think.
So, what do you think of the recent pump? Just right out of nowhere, a few days ago, the price of Omi pumped to I don't know, like 3.38, 3.9, something like that. Do you
Yeah,
think?
I mean, I wasn't surprised. You build out a base. I talked about on my channel. You build out a base for a long time, and a lot of people that sold off. But there are a lot. The community is strong, right? Just like type in ECOMI in Twitter, and you'll see like the string of O's down the line, right?
Yeah.
So it's got a really strong community who believe in the project long term. So I didn't, I thought that it would hold that base, and with all the catalysts coming, I didn't, it doesn't surprise me at all. I think you had said in your live stream yesterday, I caught some of it, that we're pricing in the immutable. I agree with that. Yeah, I definitely think that now people are seeing what's going to happen, and they're now jumping in, where people are looking to add to their bags, knowing
Yeah.
their conviction has grown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see a small dump before the migration happens? Like migration will probably happen in like 2 weeks. Get estimate there. So do you think we'll see a dump before another big pump?
It's always possible. I try not to predict those things.
Yeah.
It's just because you don't know. When I expect it, it doesn't happen. And when I don't expect it, it happens. So I try to just, ignore it. And, I have like my price of where I think it's going. If it drops, great, I'll add more. And if it continues to go up, it goes up. But it's always a possibility that, it sells off.
Yeah. So on one of your videos, you talked about what a good risk to reward ratio was with Omi. And I definitely agree with that. You can get a 1 million Omi for like, I don't know, 3,500, 3,600 or something. And it could potentially pump, right? Can you elaborate on that for us?
Yeah. So the risk there, right, is 3,800. And I don't expect the project is just getting started. It's got a little over $500 million market cap. I can't see it with the IP and the space that it's in not having more than, a $500 million market cap, not being at least double that, next year. And with the people running it. So the risk there to me is very small. Like I don't anticipate losing money. Anything could happen, of course, but so the risk is like kind of like negligible. Even if it cut in half, I lost, $1,500-$1,600, right? If it were to cut in half. But the reward, like I said, if this is like a moonshot. If they figure out a way to burn tokens, if the VVverse takes off and the app, and I think what's really important is interoperability and getting the products, the assets into places like OpenSea. A lot of people are there. That's where the people are. I think that we need to take these assets where the people are, and I think that will help the project. So, the risk is, maybe losing half of my investment, which I don't think would happen, but the potential reward is, what's a dollar? what's crunch the numbers. It's pretty substantial.
Yeah. Yeah, I really think $1. I mean, a lot of stuff would have to happen for us to hit $1, I think, but it's possible. At least I feel like it's possible. If everything goes right, they execute brilliantly, becomes a mass market product. I mean, I can easily see that happening. So totally right.
Even if it doesn't, if it hits like 10 cents and you have $1 million, it's $100,000. That's $100,000 off of $3,000. Where else do you get that? What's funny to me about crypto is that people get so frustrated things go sideways for like 4 months. They expect 3x, 4x, 5x quick gains, because they've been conditioned to believe that off of, seeing all these other projects pump and the way the space moves and operates. But not everything moves at the same pace. Any other sector, like again, in stocks, You give me people that if you have a stock that increases 300% in 5 years, like that, you're like a boss. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you could do that consistently, but in crypto, it's like, yo, this didn't 3x in the month. It's like, but we've been conditioned, and that's not a good thing, in my belief, because patience is required, right? I bought Ethereum in 2017. I didn't do my due diligence. I knew about it on a superficial level. So I had some. I bought Ripple at like, I don't know, 6 cents or something like this. I knew it on a superficial level. I didn't have conviction. The market crashed. I dumped because I didn't have conviction. Right? If I had patience, I would have been rewarded. But I feel like I'm still rewarded because I learned valuable lessons, right? That I can now apply to my current investment strategies. So when I see something like Omi going sideways, or even originally I bought in, it was like, I think half a penny. So it went down for me. I lost money. But I was fine with that because, I had conviction and I learned my lesson, and we need to be patient. Not everything goes up at once. For every parabolic rise, there are projects that build steam over, a long period of time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I've shared this story with my viewers, but I got into Bitcoin in the middle of 2013. This was in the Mt. Gox days. You had to send your money to a bank in Japan. And I had at my peak, about 30 to 40 Bitcoin. And I got some loans. I put all my money into it, and I just couldn't handle the swings because I didn't really know enough about it. It's so sketchy. Exchanges were going bankrupt left and right or getting hacked, so I dumped. I don't own those Bitcoins anymore. I dumped a long time ago. And had I known what I was getting into, I could have been a millionaire, and, I have an Ethereum story too. Very similar thing. I got back into it in 2019, had a bunch. And, I was like, oh, I got to buy a house. I'm buying a house soon, so I'll just cash that out. And I should have held it. Even just a couple of years, I would have a lot of money. It's lessons you learn in investing, I guess.
Yeah, everyone's got, similar story. If you do it long enough and you're going to learn, the key thing is to learn, right? And not make the same mistakes.
For sure. Good. So on another video, you talked about, and you mentioned it too just now, Omi building a base, comparing it to Tesla, pre-pump with Cathie Wood. Is this what you think Omi has been doing? It's been flat at 2.5 or 3.0 for a while. Do you feel like it's building a base? Can you explain what that means to us?
Yeah, so it's going sideways. It's building a base of holders who are holding strong and waiting. And the longer that the base builds, I feel like the bigger the pump that you get at the end. This wasn't a very long base, right? It only went sideways for a few months. But I feel like when you have a strong project and it goes sideways for a long period of time, but it's got all those positive catalysts that are coming, it's got the potential to pump, right? You see with Cardano, Cardano pumped early in the year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it went up like crazy, but then it built out its base in the dollar range. It peaked at $2.50, crashed down to about $1, and then stayed in that range, and never broke below $1. And it didn't retrace as much as other projects because I feel like it had such a strong base, such a strong community of people who believed in the project. And then once that Alonzo rollout hit, once they made that announcement, you see the run up. And I think that you could see something similar with Omi. As these catalysts get out, you could see a run up. And in crypto, it's all about momentum. I'd say like 99% of people probably never heard of Omi, right? They'll hear about it when it's in their Twitter feed, or in their Discord, and people are like, "Yo, check out my gains." Then they're gonna FOMO in.
Yeah,
that's how I feel like the space works.
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. I mean, really spot on there. So, let's see here. So you mentioned ADA. Are you invested in other cryptocurrencies besides Omi? Do you want to share with us what you have?
Sure. I love the space, man. ADA, I have a nice position in. Ethereum, I have some Chainlink, Polkadot. I've been adding to because they have a parachains unleashing coming soon, which is similar to like the Alonzo hard fork, where it's like the last piece of their project. So I anticipate a run in Polkadot. VeChain, I have a nice, decent position in. Right now that I kind of consolidated into Cardano a couple months ago. Cardano and Ethereum became my two biggest positions. But I'm looking at a number of projects. I'm looking at Engine, which is another NFT play. Chili's, a social token. A lot of things that I'm looking at now.
Do you have mostly crypto or do you have mostly stocks or?
Kind of 50-50 right now. But it's about to be heavily, because of like the rapid gains. One, I'm loading into crypto way more because, I this is exciting stuff to me, right? Like this is a brand new asset class that's, that's come about at a time when I'm alive. How often does that happen? Not often. It's got a total like $2 trillion market cap. Compare it to the total market cap of the stock market, which is over $100 trillion. We're early. We're really early, and I expect that $2 trillion market cap to go up exponentially, and I expect a lot of projects to go up exponentially. So,
yeah, I saw a video you did. You compared the total market cap of stocks, I think, to where we are now with crypto, and you're just basically trending it out. Like we could follow that same path, and I thought that was a good point I've never seen before. So
yeah, I think
really
that.
Good.
Thanks. I think that the stock market had a total market cap of $2 trillion in about like 1980, to put it in perspective. So that was, if you extrapolate 40 years out in this space, once we get regulation, which I know people are scared of, but I think that regulation will ultimately be a good thing because it'll provide clarity. And big money is not going to go all in until there's clarity, until everything is clearly defined. We know what an asset is, what a security is. So once regulation gets going, you're already seeing the big institutional money pile in. It's only going to accelerate. Something, how many people think that crypto? People ask me, should I buy Bitcoin or is it like a scam? That question still exists. You know what I mean? Like these. So as more people get educated in the space, it's gonna. I'm excited.
Yeah, same here. I had some other questions here. I don't know if you're comfortable sharing this. I know I generally don't, but are you comfortable sharing the size of your portfolio or investments, or do you not want to share that with us?
I don't.
That's fine.
Not because I don't want anyone to know what I'm holding. More so because like I've been in a position where like I've been on Discord and I left Discord for this. People show their portfolios, and what does it do? It makes either someone feel like their portfolio is not as good as, what I'm saying? Like, oh, look at his portfolio. Now I feel like a sense of FOMO. Or, so, it's just a matter of people comparing to each other. And that's the only, reason why I don't like.
Yeah, I initially, when I first started my YouTube channel, I promised my viewers that at 1,000 subs, I would reveal my holdings. And then I realized that that's just not a good idea. I know some people do. That's great. But for me, it's more of a security thing. I don't want to become a target to someone on the internet, and that's just, it's not worth it. It's not worth the content, So, so what do you do professionally? Are you comfortable sharing that?
Yeah, I'm an assistant principal in New York. I've been in education for about 20 years. I was a teacher for 14 years.
Wow.
Then I moved into administration.
Yeah. Is it a rough part of New York or is it a
No,
pretty...
it's normal, middle of the road.
Gotcha.
I love it. I love the job. I love working with kids, and I love education. So,
do you contribute to your pension, or is there some sort of contribution?
So we have like a regular pension, and we also have kind of like a 401k sort of thing. And that's where I learned the power of compound interest. Right. I've been just I set like a certain percentage from when I started at 23 years old, and that's just been accumulating. So you really see the power of compound interest over time, That's why, Warren Buffett said time in the market, right? It's better than timing the market. I don't try to time the market. I just try to ride it out.
Right. Same here. Yeah. So I have a couple different asset class stuff I invest in, and, I definitely do my 401k, I put a percentage in there. That's my thing. If things go south, I at least need to know that I won't starve to death. And that's the purpose of the 401k, because crypto could go south in an instant, and so, yeah, definitely good there. So, Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, I have a bunch of hobbies. I like movies and music, baseball, collect baseball cards. I'm like an obsessive person. I go ahead, I like, I move between hobbies throughout the years and then I come back to them. I got big into like card collecting about a year and a half ago. That kind of led me to getting big into investing. Was my card collecting, seeing like I bought like a 1952 Willie Mays for like $1,000, went to 7,000, right? And I was in like these card groups or whatever, and people were like, "Oh, but did you buy like that Tesla on the split? When it split?" And that kind of motivated me.
Wow.
I saw like the opportunities because I had like dabbled in years past, but it made me throw myself full fledged.
You have some collectibles behind you. Do you collect other things too? Star Wars type
Yeah,
memorabilia?
this is my man cave. So it's just like I don't collect them like for as like a collection per se. More of like just like I like just representing myself.
Yeah, yeah,
I like being in my basement and being around myself.
sure,
Stuff that I love, you know what I mean?
for sure,
Stuff that I
man.
love growing up. I picked up a Castle Grayskull, an original from
Oh,
He-Man.
really?
Yeah, like a month ago. That was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Uh, so, any future plans for the next 2 years?
In terms of
Just life in general?
yeah, continuing to grow in like all aspects. I want to grow the YouTube channel. Hopefully, I'm still doing it in 2 years, and it's bigger than what it is now. Traveling, just enjoying time with family. Sometimes I tend to get caught up on the numbers and hitting a certain point in my portfolio. I have to remind myself, you have to like just appreciate, that my portfolios don't really matter, right? It matters, like you said, in terms of being able to not starve, right? You need to be able to eat, right? So as long as everyone's healthy and happy, and we're still able to spend time with each other. The last year and a half with COVID was, offered perspective. So just continuing to spend time with people.
Awesome. Well, there's always a lot of great viewer comments and questions in the chat there. So we'll just take a couple of them here. I think there's some good ones here. So let me shout out to some people here. Zach R donated $9.99. Thank you very much, sir. Real Talk says the $10 prediction by Cavell, in my opinion, is very conservative. I was searching for House of X Secret Rare. That was $690 last week. It is now 1.3 grand. In my opinion, ECOMI will go crazier than Solana. Solana has actually been doing hot, actually. One of my viewers, his name was Interstellar Dweller, he was like, you need to get out of ECOMI and get into Solana because it's hot. And it was trading at like 30, $40. But it's fine. I got to be able to sleep well at night, when I have my investments.
Yeah, I
Let's
almost bought
see.
Solana. I regret not buying Solana about 6 weeks. No, it was like 2 weeks ago. It was at like $65,
Mhm.
but it had already run up. So
Yeah, I should have bought some when it was 100. I was like, I don't know if there's going to be a pullback or what, but what I like to do is, so I don't FOMO into things, is I'll just put $1,000 into a project, like because if I lose 1,000, it's not too big of a deal, but I can kind of not have as much FOMO if I have a little bit of money in play. So okay, let's find some good questions here. Hey guys, if you have any questions for financial news and views, respond in the chat there. Freddie Mercury, how much Omi? How much Omi? If this is no secret, I have 961K, trying to hit that 1 million. As I said before, I don't really reveal my holdings there just for security. Okay. This is a Cavell question, but let's see if we can answer it here. Cavell Anderson, which utility do you think will be the most impactful? I personally think it will be Omi to NFT. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you hear me?
you talking to me?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry. I thought you were talking to. All right, my bad. Sorry. Would you?
Which utility do you think will be the most impactful when utility with Omi comes into play? What do you think?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't. I mean, I haven't really thought that through enough.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think Omi the NFT is definitely big, but I think just being able to get some special features with the Master Collector program will be a big thing too. Let's see, a lot of statements. Let's try to go to the bottom here. Immutable X will get opened in CoinList the 6th of September. Is this a good investment?
Immutable X itself will get opened.
They're releasing a token. It's not really it's like an early ICO. It's not
Yeah.
available to Americans. But do you think an immutable token will be worth something?
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, I mean, with the utility that it has, always be wary of when getting in on something right after an ICO.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to
For sure.
run up and then correct heavy. But
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, there's so many opportunities. I feel like in the space, that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, I would be really careful with the Immutable X token because I do believe that. I think there's going to be a lot of hype. It's going to push the price up, and if you get it on that coin list, there's a holding period of like 6 months, so you can easily crash the price there. So it's something you guys got to be careful about. Here's a good one here from Zach R. If a crypto-backed company like ECOMI eventually sells, does the sale price get spread to the token holders the same way it would a publicly traded company? I know this is a hard one because I don't think it's ever really been done before, but do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't think so, but it's like you said, it's never been done before.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
because
kind of strange.
there was an AMA where they were talking about, it was with Dan Crothers, and someone was talking about would they sell ECOMI? And Dan Crothers kind of made it sound like he has a list of people that would potentially uh, that they would sell to. And someone mentioned the host mentioned Disney, and his eyes got kind of wide there. But
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah, so that's kind of where that rumor came from. Is like what would happen. I feel like they would have to be fair to the token holders. They would have to either buy them out or something. You couldn't just get rid of that and say that's done,
So
because
then does that assume that the token no longer exists for token holders?
yeah, that's the thing. We don't know what would happen. So I would think that, but this is my opinion. I don't know for sure, but I would think that if Disney bought out Ecomi, they would let the team run it. They would just have a holding interest. I think that's what makes the most sense. I don't think they would just tear it apart and use it for their own purposes, but I think they would let them run it. But what if they didn't? What if they said like, "Hey, let's just get rid of the tokenomics. That's stupid. Let's design our own with our own token." What would happen to the token holders? Would we be out of luck?
Yeah.
Like I don't
I
think a
don't.
company like Disney would do that because I think there'd be a lot of people suing Disney.
Then
I
how
don't know if there's
realistic is it with, the gaming aspect and the VV verse? It's all going to be tied up with the token, right?
yeah,
So I don't
yeah,
think that it's realistic to think that they can get rid of the token because it's a vital part of what the project is.
yeah. And I agree with that too. I don't know how hard it is to just rip out the OMI token from Vivi because other than that, it's just a shell, right? All the technology is based
Right.
off the OMI token. So it's kind of an interesting question, and I don't know if there's even a legal basis to sue Disney if they said like, "Hey, we're going to get rid of this antiquated technology and use something different." But it's all speculation. So, but let's see what we have here. Hard Life says Tom Bilyeu's statement: Vivi has an issue of everyone having the same or almost when talking NFT, and people mostly only are able to elevate themselves with how they show it. What do you think? Kind of don't understand that question, Hard Life. There's another comment here. Yeah, maybe if you can rephrase the question. Honestly, I don't really understand that too much there. So, do you have any questions for me?
What are your other investments?
Yeah, I have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Omi. I have a small position in Polygon. Um, I don't know if you heard this on my live stream yesterday, but I sold two of my rental properties. I'm
Hmm.
basically I'll receive the funds sometime next week, but I'm going to use that to buy a bunch of Omi and probably buy things like Solana. I want to get in a position in Solana and things like that. But I prefer like I don't really like to invest in a lot of moonshot tokens because they're essentially kind of like lotto tickets. Uh, and you have to do a lot of research to really truly understand it, and it takes a lot of time. So for me, I like to bet big on the big name tokens, right? That I will sleep well at night. You know, I know it's not going to crash to like lose 99% of its value in one day, that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
that's my strategy as well. What about what are do you have like a contrarian view on or a perspective on Omi of like things that could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, I think things like competition. There's not really a good competitor around, but I think their lead time or they have about 1 to 2 years on everyone else. So they have 2 years to really secure their name in this space. And there's a lot of competitors coming after them. So that's what I think it will happen is what if they are not able to capitalize really well in 2 years? You know, there's a lot of already interesting play to earn projects out there. Can they do something very similar? You know, that's just kind of my thought there. I think it's easy to just make a token and try to compete in this space, but
Hmm.
uh, Alpaca says, do you guys have an exit strategy or certain price targets where you will be taking profits?
I don't yet because I this is so long term for me and it's like so small. As it gets into or if once it hits like 5 cents, I'll start developing more of a longer term plan. But right now, it's just let it ride.
Yeah. Same here. I'm not a trader. I don't like to complicate my tax situation. My tax situation is already complicated. Every transaction I do, every sale, every trade, I have to account for it. And that's like a mess right now. And I do my own taxes, so it's a pain in the butt, which is good, I guess. But Cavell Anderson in the house, what do you think the total market cap of the entire NFT space will be in 10 years?
Yeah, so Cavell, I'd seen that you had said $1 trillion, and I thought that was interesting. And I started thinking about it, but I haven't yet crunched the numbers. I looked at after you said that. I looked at the total gaming industry, and the gaming industry, I think in 2019 was at 150 billion. I think now it's gone up a lot because everything's gone up. You know, everything gaming especially has exploded. I would think that gaming is probably $250 billion right now. If you combine, you know, gaming NFTs with collectibles, I don't know about a trillion's a big number, but it'll be high, you know. But I haven't done the numbers, but it'll definitely be it's big big area, big space.
Yeah, I don't really have any thoughts there either. I really focus on. I really should know a little bit more about the NFT space, but I focus so much on ECOMI. But that'd be something interesting to take a look at.
Yeah.
Sylvia says, "How much OMI do you expect to be burnt in 2022?"
I think that's really hard to answer right now with the information that we have. I think once they roll out their new burning mechanisms and plans, then we'll be able to make a fair assessment. But until then, it's just total guesswork.
Yeah. So my guess is this. So how much money have they made this year in gross sales? I'm guessing it's going to be 60 million by the end of the year. And they've projected out that on the secondary market, sales would be roughly double. So you would take like 2.5% of that. So I don't know what that would be, but just for the sake of easy math, let's just say they burnt like $70 million worth of tokens. And then there's there's like a model people used for small tech growth companies that they can that they would expect to triple their sales twice. So next year, if they burnt 70 million tokens or had 70 million in sales, triple that number next year, 2022. So I'm looking at I think it's possible to burn $210 million worth of tokens. And this is not even including all the other options we're going to see. So it's hard to make that assessment, but I think at a minimum, approximately $200 million worth of tokens will be burnt next year. That's just a guess. So let's see. Oh, we got one from Ahmo. I don't know if I pronounced your name right. $5 donation. Thank you very much. If you had to say, what would be your best guess for Omi's all-time high price in 2022?
Again, it's hard to say, and it depends on so many things like macroeconomics and the whole crypto space. But I would say like 10 cents around might be somewhere. But like I said, it's kind of like driving in the dark with your headlights on. I can only really see, a certain few months ahead of me. Once they roll out the VVverse and the whole all their burning mechanisms, I think it'll be easier to make that prediction. So I'm going to revisit that.
Yeah, that'll be the interesting price prediction. I've actually never done one. I have a 5-year projection, and like I always say, it's not worth a whole lot. It's just my opinion, but I would say 10 cents is really good. I think 5 to 10 cents between here, the 2022 is a reasonable range. So,
yeah, that would be like my guess.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. And, when you think about it, that's still a pretty huge return. 10 cents.
It's massive.
2022.
30x. 30x. like we're like, maybe it'll be 10 cents.
Yeah, it's like, I'm disappointed. I mean, come on, man. It's like, if you were a hedge fund, you would be rich, you'd
be a legend.
Yeah, you'd be a legend. Yeah. So
we're all legends, maybe.
Let's see. Should I take my Bitcoins off Bit4X?
I did. I'm not a fan. I don't really know Bit4X too much, but that's the problem. I don't really know them, right? I know like Coinbase has some insurance and they have a lot of safety protocols. I don't know about Bit4X. When regulation hits, maybe they'll close down. I don't know. I just don't know enough about them, but I do keep my Omi in a wallet.
Yeah. I do the same. I use Trust Wallet, and actually the VV app actually has a built-in wallet. I don't know if people know about that. That's free. But I like to keep a little bit on the exchange in case I ever need to do a trade or something, but most of it's in a wallet there. All right. Ben says, when Master Collector program starts, they emphasize complete sets, rarity ranking, or editions count more. Some very low editions force season 1 rare collectibles. I don't know if that's a statement or a question there, but here's a good one. Sylvia says, how do you think Omi will react if VVverse is not as good as people predict? Could it completely burn the project, or would it not be that big of a deal for the token price?
I think short term it could hurt, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Long term, I don't think it would matter because I think it's a work in progress, and projects and metaverses aren't built in a day, right, or even a year. They take time to develop, and so it's definitely a work in progress. But if there's like negative, if there's FUD around it, sure, I think it could short term affect the price.
This is the problem too with the VVverse. I'm pretty sure the majority of people think it's going to be like Ready Player One. That's what Dan Crothers have said. And so when they think that, and then people like Reese say we're going to have a light layer of gamification. To me, a light layer of gamification is something almost kind of lame, like, hey, log into the app 10 times and you'll get this, or, play this very small mini game on the app and something special will happen. I'm hoping that's not what the VVverse is, but that's what I'm afraid of, that it's going to be something kind of lame like that. That will bomb the price, I think.
That's what I think it's going to be early on.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have very simple games. I envision it almost like a Roblox with, Spider-Man and the
Yeah.
DeLorean, because Roblox is like technically like a metaverse, right? I mean, it's a
Hmm.
social platform where people have their avatars in place of themselves and they take part in all these things and they collect rare items and secret rare items, but they just call them different things.
Hmm. I agree. Alpaca says, how do you think Omi will react to the bear market?
Like other coins, but a little detached from them because it's crypto, it's collectibles, it's not exactly aligned with the rest of the space. But I think we saw how it reacted, right? In
Hmm.
part when it collapsed from a penny till what did it lose? Almost 90%, 80%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you
Do
could
you,
see the same thing. But I don't think people are used to like 4 year cycles, and we've conditioned ourselves to think that crypto runs with extended bear cycles. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think there's going to be an extended. I can see like a 10 year cycle like we had in the stock market with mini bear traps, bear cycles.
yeah, I always hate it when people say like, well, what about the 4 year super cycle? Like you're basically saying, and this is not a valid assessment, that's because something happened in the past is going to happen in the present. That's totally illogical. And I know the Bitcoin price, the halving does make a difference, but at the same time, we are in such a different environment these
Yeah.
days. There's so much mainstream adoption that I think will be more closely linked to the stock market than to any sort of super cycle going forward. We have companies buying Bitcoin. I mean, they're trying to make funds out of these cryptocurrencies. I just think that's ridiculous thinking. That's my opinion, but
Yeah, I think that's just like it's happened that way, so people kind of expect it to happen that way. But that, like you said, the environment totally changed, and the floodgates to me have been open, and people would just I'd be looking at that as a buying opportunity, right? And how
Mhm.
many other people now would look at the bear market as a time to load up on Ethereum or Omi or whatever it is that you're passionate about or think could be your winner.
Mhm. Real talk, thank you for your 4.99 donation. Do you think ECOMI's jump to Ethereum, high gas fees, will be a negative instead of Solana? Solana seems to have an edge in its NFT capabilities.
I don't think so because Ethereum has their layer two protocols like Matic that help with the scalability and reduce the gas fees. And I also, Ethereum 2.0 is around the corner, and that'll be here, not too distant future. Ethereum is, it's got 75%, I think, of all projects, DeFi, NFT, whatever, is on Ethereum. I think Ethereum is the place to be. Long term, short term, sure, it has some high gas fees, but there are ways around that, and that will be corrected, I believe.
Yeah, I think layer two solutions are definitely where it's at. I mean, we're already starting to use layer two solutions now. It just makes the most sense. It's more efficient than changing, like upgrading the whole chain. I mean, Ethereum 2, I think 2.0, I don't think it's going to drastically increase their processing speed. I mean, they will, right? It'll be an
Mm-hmm.
upgrade, but compared to like Visa's payment network, I
No,
mean,
no,
it's a joke.
you'll still need layer two
Yeah.
protocols.
Layer two is just where it's at. I mean, it has to go to layer two. And so I think things like Polygon,
Hmm.
things like Chainlink or something will definitely be really good in the future. Immutable X.
Hmm.
Let's see. Maybe we could take a couple more questions here. Okay, Hard Life restates his question. Tom Bilyeu states that VV has an issue because in the VV space, everyone has the same or almost collectibles. The only difference is the showroom, but that's not enough.
Is there a second part to that, or?
In the real world, you will only see 3 Batman statues in your life. In VV, you'll see 150 of them in 155 showrooms. That's his biggest fear and problem that he sees needs to be addressed.
I think that as the user base grows, and if they cap there will still only be a certain amount of secret rare whatever animated Batmans. So I don't think it's an issue. I think that it's important for them to have more commons in order to onboard more people. People need access to these, especially if you're going to be using them in games, right?
Mm-hmm.
What good is a game if you don't have collectibles? Right, in the collectibles world, you have like I collect baseball cards. There are tons of commons, right? They're sitting in somewhere in boxes. I don't really care about them, but some people do. But I chase the rarer cards, and there are different variations of them, but they're still numbered. So I think that they artificially create rarity, and people will always chase those.
I don't have much to add to that, but I think of OpenSea more as like digital art. It reminds me more of the art market. And I think Vivi is more mass market. So it's
Mhm.
equivalent to buying an action figure. I mean, just basically a digital action figure. So I think that's kind of an apples to orange comparison. I don't think the mass market is going to go on OpenSea and buy a piece of digital art for 10 Ethereum. But I think they'll go on Vivi and buy a digital collectible. And some of those will be really, really expensive, and some will be, I mean, not very expensive. They won't go that much up in price. But
And they can also in the future create one of ones, create one of tens,
yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
and I think they should.
Wes, thank you for your donation, $4.99. Great info, both very intelligent in regards to crypto and VV. Thank you.
Thank you.
What do you think of Star Trek coming next week?
It's cool, It's I was a Star Trek fan growing up. I don't think that for the demographic that collects NFTs, trending lower. I don't know that how big they're into Star Trek. I think Star Trek's demo 8 tends to be a little lean older,
Yeah.
but anything that you can just adds more avenues. It'll be cool. Do you know if that's going to be next generation or like all generations?
Yeah, well, I think it's next generation because I think on David Yu's Instagram back in the day, he had like the Star Trek Enterprise. It was like the next gen Enterprise right by the airport. I thought that was a cool picture. So I'm guessing that's what we're getting because it was teased on.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. But, honestly, I grew up watching the original series. So, I mean, I'll be happy with both, honestly.
Yeah, me
So
too.
maybe we could take one more question before we start to wrap up here. Do you guys have any last minute questions here? There was something that Cavell said, but I'm not sure where that went. Oops. He just has a statement. What about NFTs for land ownership, vehicles, ticketing like movies, amusement parks, concerts, the world changing side of the NFT space being considered?
Yeah, I think land ownership. We'll see. I mean, I think that blockchain will definitely, documentation will be probably moved to the blockchain technology. NFTs in terms of entertainment, I can see like concert tickets. Gary Vee's talked a lot about that. Being able to keep your digital ticket stubs and sell them and move them around to different wallets. I think that'll definitely be a thing.
Yeah, I look at blockchain technology and by extension, non-fungible tokens, kind of like the internet was. People are figuring out ways how to use the internet. Like when I first used the internet when I was in fourth grade, I think, it was just something you used to talk to other people and maybe see some text. But then it transformed into what we have now: social media, stream video, stream movies. And I think the same thing is going to happen with blockchain. Eventually, we're going to discover unique and novel ways to use blockchain non-fungible tokens. And even something like my real estate deal, like why does it take 1 month to sell a house? Why can't it take a few days? You have to research who potentially owns this house, and that could all be done through a non-fungible token. And that's just one example. So, I mean, by extension, you can have a
100%.
lot of different uses. So,
Yeah. If you think about the World Wide Web, the code was created in 1989. I got my first computer in 1995 and it was dial up, right? You couldn't use the phone at the same time. Remember, it made that sound.
yeah,
Fast forward to like 2000, you had Amazon coming out, and people said they wouldn't like stores will never close. Fast forward
right.
10 years, Toys R Us is no longer a thing. The closing gaps left and right. Fast forward another 10 years, 2020, everything is affected by the internet. We're right now communicating through, a FaceTime thing. Education's on Google Classroom. Uber disrupted cars. Peloton for working out. I agree.
Yeah.
The same thing's going to happen to blockchain technology. It's going to be everywhere.
And I want to add to that, like there was a lot of FUD related to like Amazon. You know, they're like, we're going to be the virtual bookstore. And people are like, no one's going to go buy books. They come for the experience. And now Barnes and Nobles is on their like, last legs, and department stores are closing. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting future. So anyways, guys, hey, I think I'll end it out here. But I appreciate Financial News and Views coming to interview with us today. Let me show you guys his channel so you guys can subscribe to him here. Let me pull that up there.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Financial News and Views has got 433 subscribers. I think in the next month he will have 1,000 subscribers.
Help me hit 1,000, guys.
Let's hit him. Let's help him get 1,000. He puts out really good content pretty consistently. He's obviously a very intelligent guy. So please check out his channel. I think we'll start to see you in the community a lot more. So I appreciate you coming.
I appreciate you having me on.
Definitely. Any last closing words?
No, and I'm just excited, like I said, about the whole crypto space. I'm excited about Omi. It's a great time to be an investor. So guys, just, do your research, take advantage of the opportunities that are here for us. And thanks for having me on. You're kind of like, I love that you do interviews with people in the community. You're like the Omi Oprah, man. You're like the guy, man. I love it.
Yeah, I want to do more interviews because I just think it's a lot more fun, and it's more fun than just me talking or all day long. So I'm hoping to get more people on. So, anyways, appreciate you guys. Thanks for Financial News and Views. We'll see you guys in the next one.